welcome back for another amazing episode of the Third Shield Pokemon Go PvP podcast. Guys, today I have the one, the only, the champ himself, SpeediestChief2 joining to us again. Welcome, Will. Welcome to the podcast.
Absolutely, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me. I always have so much fun, and this is just going to be an awesome interview. You're a great interviewer, and I love the channel. I love all the work you've been doing recently with the intro videos. People just love it so much. You're really crushing it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And you know what I want to right off the bat, I want to start for people who are tuning in now, or they haven't seen the previous episodes, or even if they've seen it, now you're a different person. And the reason I'm saying different person, because two things happened since the last episode. One, you became champ, which is one of the greatest players of our time, technically, because of what you call it, Silph Arena champion of the world, not just Florida, not just America, the world, which is a big deal. Congratulations, since I haven't officially congratulated you on air.
Absolutely, Daniel. Thank you so much. It was a really surreal experience and a really surreal few weeks, but I'm just so grateful for everything.
And then second, what I wanted to talk about, which is interesting me even more than anything else, is that you are one of the first, and I'm gonna make up this title, but I really think that's the title, is the professional Pokemon Go player, because you were just signed by Mazer Gaming, which I think is one of the biggest moves that they made and you made into the right direction of Pokemon Go of the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually a pretty funny story. That whole thing got started because Panic23, who's a pretty notable Pokemon Go PvP streamer, he actually reached out to Mazer about professional sponsorships, and he was selected first through his talks with the owner and creator of Mazer. And he actually messaged me a few days later after the announcement, because I thought it was huge. I was like, oh my gosh, Panic got signed to an official esport organization. This company has fielded teams that were competitive and won tournaments in Gears of War, Call of Duty, other first-person shooter games, and now they're interested in Pokemon Go. I thought it was so huge. And a few days later, I actually get a message from him, and he said, so I was talking with Sam, which is the founder of Mazer, and he's looking for other people to join the organization, and I threw your name into the hat. Didn't ask him to. We knew each other from partnering on Go Team Up, but he just kind of threw my name out there, and then probably 2 days after that, I got a message from Mazer, and I guess you could say the rest is history. But it's really, really exciting, and having that backing of an official esports company. I mean, these teams won over $150,000 in prize money last year. This is a serious organization, a serious team, and I'm really looking forward to everything that Mazer does going forward.
That's so amazing. I mean, just that when I saw that, I think you probably did the same thing off camera. You can tell me if you did or did not, but I had like little tears in my eyes when I read that, and I think I'm tearing a little bit right now just talking about it, because I think it's such a huge thing that's going forward, because I think your hard work and Lyndon and many amazing players in this community have been working so hard, including of course Niantic, to push this one step forward, and you guys basically over there just pushed it even more. So I'm like very excited.
Absolutely. And the thing is as well, Daniel, because we're in the Pokemon Go PvP community, we don't actually understand what we have and how supportive the community is, and how everybody kind of sticks together and goes to people's channels. Everybody raids. It's part of the Twitch culture now. My brother actually plays Apex, which is a first-person shooter game. And when I told him that Pokemon Go streamers were getting 100, 200, 300 viewers at a time, he said, man, you have to stream right now. This is huge. You have to ride this wave. And Mazer is actually one of the first esport companies to see that potential and growth and get on board. And I couldn't be happier partnering with Mazer.
Yeah, that what you mentioned, I just want to point it out too, because if you look up any games right now, and then how much you can actually bring in people that they watch you live on Twitch, on YouTube, and all these, it's crazy. And the thing is, it's just gonna get way better. But if you don't have the base which you're building right now, then you're gonna disappear when the actual real esports, meaning like the real organizations and events happen, and all these people show up to stream. But now you're putting that groundwork down, and you're gonna be just rising with it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always the hope, right? You want to be one of the first people to get started. And I was involved in YouTube, and then we went to the Orlando Mega Tournament and got a little bit more name recognition. But everything changed after Worlds, right? And that's just I can't express enough. I had an average season in Silph Arena season 2. It was very, very average. I think I had 60% win rate. I had great tournaments and I had really awful tournaments. But when it came down to really important moments, I just practiced and practiced and practiced. And I guess just the stars aligned. I got very, very lucky, but I can't express enough that I had an average season, and anybody, including you watching or listening, you could do it too. It's not outside of your power to do it.
That's right. Coming from the champ. So moving forward, I wanted to jump right away. So we're going to talk about more about that. I love talking about esports in the future and everything. But before we do that, there's something that just happened right now. So it's way more... I mean, we should talk about that since it's happening now, which is the changes of movesets. So right now, Niantic did some changes, buffs, debuffs, whatever we're gonna call it, which is from Bubble to Razor Leaf to Ember, and so many things, and additional moves to Pokemons that couldn't do it. So right off the bat, I wanted to ask you, is there something that you're really excited about as a change, or not so much because you're kind of pissed it's happening? Is there one of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of moves are very interesting to me. I think both of the Ninetales getting access to Weather Ball is going to be really important. For the traditional Kanto Ninetales, it's going to help give you a faster fire type move. It's going to be a lot spammier, a lot more useful. And then for the Alolan version, you're going to get probably the lowest energy cost move that a Charmer has access to. So we're so concerned about seeing Wigglytuff or Togekiss. Now we're going to have a Charmer that's going to get a charge move every 4 or 5 charms, which is something we haven't seen before, and it's really going to change the game. I know there are a lot of different changes, so if I had to pick one that I'm really excited for, it's got to be that Claydol. Claydol is such a big tech, right? It's such an interesting Pokemon, such a tricky Pokemon to use, but so rewarding. You're going to get access to that Ice Beam and Shadow Ball. I'm going to be honest, I really see that Ice Beam as the big winner here because it gives you a way to hit back against the grass types as well as the flyers, 2 Pokemon that Claydol has historically struggled against. So for example, the Ice Beam from a Claydol onto an Altaria, which has roughly about 137 HP, does 107 damage. If that Altaria is chipped at all, it is going to take it out of the sky, and I think that's really exciting.
Oh my god, I completely overlooked Claydol. I was like, I put that to the side. But now, what you said, I might just test it out right away as soon as it comes out. That sounds really interesting. Man, that sounds really good, actually.
Absolutely, and some of these things are a little bit kind of counterintuitive. For example, I don't really see the draw of Excadrill getting Mudshot. I think it's a nice upgrade for the Pokemon, but it's a steel ground type Pokemon. It's going to struggle against the same things it already struggled against. It's just going to be faster, and I think that's actually going to be better for Premier League and Master Cup, or Master League Premier Cup. but otherwise, you know, there are a few improvements for Great League here and there. But yeah, I think the Claydol is going to be really special, and I'm excited to try it.
That's awesome. I cannot wait to see that. And then also, what do you think about, do you think Azumarill will be affected a lot by halving the bubble, or who knows how much the damage changes?
Yeah, so I think a useful way to look at it, I was actually watching Wild Susan Boyle's stream the other night, and I can't express enough like how talented this trainer is, this person is. Go ahead and check out his channel on Twitch. But he actually was breaking down the moves, and they're most likely kind of what they would arrive at most likely based on the numbers that are currently in the game. He thinks that Razor Leaf is going to become a charm clone. So it's going to get a little bit of a nerf, but it's still going to be really powerful. But certain 2-shield scenarios, right? That was always the argument with things like Shadow Victory Bell. If you 2-shield it, you can beat a Registeel. That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't be a thing. A grass type shouldn't beat a steel, shouldn't be able to double shield and do that. So things like that, based on his analysis, actually aren't going to happen anymore, which is really exciting. But I think Niantic has been listening to the players as well, because you asked about Azumarill. A lot of other Pokemon like Skarmory with the Sky Attack, Altaria with the Sky Attack, the Marowak with Shadow Bone as well. A lot of these, Stunfisk with Rock Slide. A lot of these Pokemon that are extremely popular and are, quote unquote, the top meta are all getting a nerf. So that means that other Pokemon that are probably mid like 50 to 100 range on PvPoke, those Pokemon are going to rise up and actually be really, really useful. I will give you a couple of interesting nuggets, though. I feel like 2 classic Pokemon are actually going to excel in this new meta. One of them being Bastiodon and the other one being Medicham.
Oh, those are two OGs from the back in the day that everybody used to run, and they just disappeared.
Absolutely. Well, with Bastiodon, you're going to be able to, smack down the flyers just like you would normally, but it's also going to be really, really good against both of those Ninetales, which I feel like we're going to see a lot of. And of course, it's going to wall Charmers and a bunch of other things. You remember how when Registeel got nerfed kind of overnight, within the next 24 to 48 hours, we stop seeing Registeel in GBL. We might stop seeing Azumarill. We might stop seeing Altaria. I don't want to call it too soon, but it could happen. I think Bastiodon is going to be really powerful. As annoying as it is, it's going to be really good at what it does.
Yeah, so it's almost like we have to look over what was, if Azumarill is gone, then it's almost like, all right, so what was Azumarill's biggest win? And that's what Pokemon we have to run.
Exactly.
But it's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. And since you mentioned, the charms too, and getting rid of the Sky Attack debuff, there's so much debuff, but one was so short-lived, which is the Shadow Bone. Shadow Bone just got released, and it's already gone, and I was so happy with it. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Shadow Bone is one of the best moves in the game, and a lot of people are actually not happy about it because they had a really highly ranked Alola Marowak. Maybe they got it from trades or a special event or past raid day, but now they spent an Elite TM on it to get Shadow Bone, and now Shadow Bone is nerfed. So it is really unfortunate that we invest that way and then we get kind of slapped on the wrist. But we'll see what the eventual outcome is, because we don't have the numbers quite yet, but we should be getting them very soon.
It almost feels like a Giratina and its ancient power, but except that wasn't the Elite TM, so it's a little bit different, but still.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good comparison. But yeah, that Elite TM, we've gotten more of them as the community days have gone on, but I personally think they're still very valuable. So when you want to use one, you kind of waffle back and forth. Making that decision is really tough. I still have a really nice Seal and a really nice Goldeen sitting in my box because I haven't committed to using those Elite TMs yet.
Speaking of these moves, by the way, and nerfs, what do you think? I don't know if you had a chance to try it yet, but Genesect and the Burn disc with its head, and I forgot about Technoblast. Have you had a chance to try it?
I actually have not, but I heard, I think from one of your video intros you posted on Twitter that you were exploring it. I think you roasted one with a Ho-Oh and you captured it.
Yes, and honestly, I had so much success with it. In 2 days, I went from, I think, because I dropped a lot in Holiday Cup, and then I had to come back up. So I think I was at like 24:30, and I went up to 27:05 or something with Genesect. And what was so cool is that nobody expected it, that you use Technoblast, so they, with a Registeel or with a Melmetal, they wouldn't shield, and it would just absolutely disappear with 2 shields they have left, and it would just like gone, just like that, because it charges so quick. It was so cool.
Oh my gosh. So the element of surprise is really big, right? When these new Pokemon come out and you don't know how many fire spins Talonflame needs for the Brave Bird, it can be really, really shocking. So when the new things come out, it's tricky to learn them, but like you just expressed, I think it's worth it because you can surprise some people with some Technoblast.
So, so speaking of what you just said, so tomorrow, well, when we're recording this 2 days before, so technically on Monday, so what would be the team that you think you might recommend to someone to run, or you might want to test out to run on Monday with these new changes? Or if you don't want to say that, or maybe you can say both, but what would you want to stay away from?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really good question. Looking over the move updates, I actually spent probably half an hour scrolling through PvPoke, and I tried to figure out what can beat all of these Pokemon. Is there one thing that can kind of master all of these new Pokemon that are being brought in? And to be honest, I really like Venusaur's place here. It looks like with the Claydol, you have to fear the Ice Beam now. So as long as you have shields up, I think Venusaur can do okay. And as long as it's not running Confusion. If it's running Extra Sensory, you can stay in that fight a little bit longer. But Venusaur is going to be able to take down the Ninetales. We haven't even touched on this, Daniel, but Politoed is going to be the biggest pain in the butt when it does come into combat here, because the Mudshot Weather Ball combo is going to be so nasty, but Venusaur can take that as well. You have got the Tri-Attack coming from the Porygon 2, and then the Primeape Yes, it does have Ice Punch. Yes, Ice Punch is going to sting. So kind of the same play with Claydol, right? You want to have your shields up, but Frenzy Plant is just going to erase that fighting type Pokemon with just one attack. So I think that Venusaur could be really special. As far as a complete team, I do think that Medicham still has quite a bit of play. So maybe a Venusaur, Medicham, a very season 1 kind of GBL kind of feel might be the way to go.
That's a very good point, and thank you for that feedback because, man, first of all, I don't have Venusaur with the special move. I mean, the Community Day move, so I'm waiting till the Kanto Tour because I think I can get it then finally. But until then, I don't have that, so I'm probably not gonna run that. But I definitely want to test out Claydol, and I definitely want to test out Medicham since I have, well, not 100% is no longer what you need. And then I have what else that I wanted to test? Oh, Primeape. Today I just got destroyed by a shiny Primeape in the back, and I did not do well because I was weak to the fire in the back, so that was not good. But I was very surprised, and I was like, oh wow, somebody's already warming up for it tomorrow.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you discover the Primeape in the back, it's so scrappy and it hits so hard, and you have to be very, very wary of the close combat, right? And this is also just another tool that Primeape is going to get because you don't know if it's Night Slash, if it's Ice Punch, if it's close combat, and learning the counts early so that you aren't surprised by a brand new Pokemon like we were just talking about is going to be really important for Monday, but I think it's going to be really exciting all the same.
Oh yeah, I might test the Primeape just because you said there's lots of Bastidion, so I might test it out tomorrow, but go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, well, Medicham is going to beat Primeape and Bastiodon, so you have to worry about the Ninetales no matter what fighter you bring. But I think Medicham is just bulky enough to have quite a lot of play. Then the Ice Punch for the Claydol sounds really good. It's going to beat up the Porygons. I actually ran the Sims, and believe it or not, Politoed has a decent matchup against Medicham just because the Weather Ball is so spammy. But if you get into a good position, get a couple of counters lead, you can take on the Politoed as well.
That's awesome. That's really good to know. That's really good information. So I hope that everybody who's listening is actually taking notes right now.
And I think it'll be hopeful. We'll see how the moves change, but Medicham seems to be unaffected. So I'm hitching my wagon to the Medicham train.
I cannot wait to see and hear. And speaking of that, by the way, just because we're talking about this, when do you stream now? Like, do you have a schedule yet, or what you averaging? Like, what days and times?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So I did start a new job, and then I'm actually interviewing for another job at the same time. So the past week has been really hectic for me. The current job I'm in is an 8 to 5. So normally I would stream around 4 o'clock, but I've had to kind of adjust that. If I do get this job I'm interviewing for, though, it's fully remote. So we might see maybe, some more 4 p.m. stream times. I'm going to release a stream schedule coming up here pretty soon for the following week, but it's looking like maybe around 6 or 7 at night is my average time.
Awesome. Perfect. Happy to hear that. And I can't wait to hear and see that schedule.
Absolutely. And that is Eastern time, just like you, Daniel.
Perfect. And then, so far, this season, how has it been and how has it been treating you? Do you like this season better than the others, or how is it so far?
Yeah, this season is really good. I've really enjoyed it. The streams have been really awesome. And then, you have that kind of fresh feeling of starting a new year as well. I'm a big New Year's person, right? I know some people think it's cliche to kind of look at 2021 and say, oh, well, I'm going to, change these things this year. But I think it's a helpful point to kind of refresh and restart. And after 2020 was just so brutal and so rough, and everything was so unexpected, and uncertainty just flowed around every corner. I really feel like 2021 and season 6 is going to be a really positive time for the game and for our community. So the moveset shakeup coming halfway through the season, I think is great. And, I was a little bit concerned about the longer GBL season, but I've seen on Twitter, a lot of people are saying that, oh, I'm in the 2400s, and I'm so grateful that we still have more time because I think I can do it and I want to get there. I'm going to keep trying. Whereas if the season were to end on a normal time scale, you'd be kind of out of luck, just like the previous season if you didn't make it the last season. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and this also opens up a lot of opportunity in my mind for coaching, because you get a lot of trainers who've got multiple seasons of experience. This is GBL season 6. Even if they didn't play all their sets in the past seasons, they have some of that experience. They're learning every single time they click that find battle button. So at this point, I think it's a great time to maybe help push those people over the finish line and help them to reach their goals in GBL.
That's awesome. And thank you for sharing that. And speaking of the teams and the seasons, so far, what was your favorite team that you run and what league this season?
Yeah, so I haven't talked about this publicly, but Great League is my staple league. You know, I started in Silph. I played Great League I really love Great League. It's my favorite league to play. But one of my personal goals that I haven't mentioned publicly is that I want to hit the top rank, whether it's 10 or 24, in every league at least once. So it's been Great League the past 5 seasons, but this season I actually hit it in Ultra League. So I did hit a really big milestone. And then I guess you could say in season 7, I want to do Master League, but I have to grind some XL candies or something because it's going to be really challenging. But so far in this season, my favorite team in the Ultra League that I actually hit Legend with. I hate to say, you know, I was the first because there are probably other people that don't post on social media that have done it before, but I do believe I was the first Pokemon Go streamer to hit Legend this season, and I did it with the team of Empoleon, with Kingdra, Safe Switch, and Shadow Dragonite in the back. So Empoleon double dragons. I really loved that Empoleon because the steel typing gives you so much resistance. It really walls the Charizards and a lot of things you see. And then the Kingdra is deceptively bulky. It was actually an XL Kingdra that I boosted up to level 41 and a half. And the debuff on the Octazooka is such a great move because you swap, and even if they switch in something like an Ampharos, you know, electric type on water, you know, you think you're in big trouble, but the dragon typing helps you so much. And then you land the Octazooka, you get the debuff, you push it to the 2 shields, and you take back switch. And it just seems really easy, but as you get more comfortable with the team and learn how to do it, it's really helpful. I think Toshi might have been the original creator of that team, but it was suggested to me on stream. And after I think one set, Daniel, I fell for it, and I was just, all right, I'm taking this team all the way to legend status.
Oh man, congratulations. That team sounds really spicy and really pain in the butt to deal with. Like, I don't want to face it now that you explained it. And yeah, Kingdra, when I see one, I'm like, crap. Because it's so bulky, just like you said, and it's bulky because of the dual typing with the dragon, and I'm just like, oh, come on.
Daniel, it's so funny you say that because when I first started encountering Kingdras in Ultra League, I was like, man, this thing is the bane of my existence. Every time I see a Kingdra, I don't know what to do. It's so annoying. It's impossible to take it down. It's so tough. And then I started using it. I said, hey, there might be something to this, you know? The enemy of my enemy is my friend, so I made Kingdra my friend.
Exactly. That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. And then as far as what do you think, what was the most pain in the butt Pokemon to deal with that you have seen or played against during this season?
That's a really good question. I think I kind of touched on that with Kingdra, but if I had to find one for Great League, you know, Marowak has just been such a pain, and it's such a good Pokemon. I actually used it for a set yesterday, and I think it was Marowak into a Azumarill, and then I safe swapped I believe it was my Azu, and then out came a grass type, and I just was getting hard counted all over the place. But end of the story, I got down to the final few turns, and I was paired up against an Umbreon with my Marowak, and somehow I almost won the game. I think I was 1 fire spin behind, but it's such a great Pokemon. Zionic calls it the GOAT. You know, shout out to Zionic, our flagship content creator from Pokemon Go. But it's such a great Pokemon, and it's so hard to deal with if you don't get the right counters on it. Even if you get into a situation where you have a water type like Azu on it, if you're down a shield and you get that Shadow Bone debuff, you better watch out.
That's awesome. Happy. And yeah, Zionic, just a shout out to him. Yes, he's one of the GOATs himself, not just his Pokemon that he mentions as a GOAT.
Yeah, exactly right. Zionic is really cool. And before I went over to Twitch, I actually reached out to him and I asked him how to set up my YouTube videos, how to kind of process things more quickly. And even though he lives in the UK, he took time out of his day to help me set everything up. I don't think I've said that story publicly, but he's down to earth, solid guy, great creator, and very helpful. So definitely much love to Zionic.
I can only agree to that. As far as for Pokemon, so you know when you play the game and everything, and you technically you're fighting these Pokemon and they are like creatures, animals, right? Fighting. So isn't that like almost like dog fighting? Like how do you feel when you see a Pokemon, let's say, faint right in front of you? Does that make you feel good, or how do you feel about that?
Well, that's an interesting question there, Daniel. But I will say there are a couple of things. So one, the age-old question, right? Why don't the Pokemon just rise up and take over? You know, that would be a very a kind of obvious thing to happen. I mean, I don't know if you remember Ash trying to fist fight with Mewtwo in the Pokemon movie. It did not go well. Uh, and the second thing is, I think it's almost a little bit ironic how we've all forgotten how Niantic kind of took away that fainting animation from us. Remember in the middle of a battle, and you have maybe a Pokemon with 1 HP, and you would switch it in really quick, and then your opponent would hit it with an attack and it would just flop onto the screen. It used to happen, and then there was an update or something, and we don't get that anymore. But it made for some really entertaining screenshots. I never really enjoyed seeing it fainting, but it was really funny to just see a Lapras kind of flop over and say, "Yep, I'm done. I'm out of the battle."
So it didn't make you feel good to see them faint?
Not particularly good. I don't think good is the word, but I don't know. If it makes you feel good, maybe there's some dark side to your personality, possibly.
So how do you really kill a Pokemon?
You know, I don't think it's ever been done because for some reason you always end up back at the Poke Center and you heal the Pokemon up. So I don't know if somebody were to do it. I think that'd be really controversial. I mean, even being interested in doing that is very controversial. I'm not sure I would get behind something like that.
Yeah. So just want to apologize. I didn't mean to ask those questions. I've been feeling a little dark lately and having these twitches, but I don't know what has been happening with me. But sorry about that. And sorry, guys, I'm not a dark person.
It's okay, Daniel. I mean, I'm your friend, and if you need anything, just let me know. But I did notice your fingers were kind of bandaged up as well. So just take care of yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate it. As far as for building a team, now let's talk about that. So how do you go about picking a set of Pokemon? And once you pick them, well, let's start with how do you actually pick, like, let's say a team? Let's just start with that. Like, obviously go with lead, safe swap, and then whatever in the back as a finisher. But that's just one. I feel like that's just one way to start, because there could be a different way, in a way, like what play style you're using with the team. Like, you need to win the lead, you need to win switch advantage, or you're gonna let it go down, or there's so many options. So I just wanted to get a feel of it. Like, how do you decide? Do you go by play style first, like what I'm feeling playing, or you pick a Pokemon first, or how do you go about it? There's so many options.
Yeah, Daniel. So I always go back to this quote. This was actually said by Valor Ash. I'm not sure if he originally created the quote, but I saw him post it online. He said that the sign of a good player is not having a perfect team, but being able to play around the things that beat you perfectly. So essentially, I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he was getting at. So for example, there was a team that I ran that just had really just one answer for charm. I believe it was, if I remember correctly, it was Altaria with Galvantula, and then maybe it was Stunfisk in the back. But Stunfisk was wedged in the middle. So if I ran into a charm lead, I couldn't safe swap my Galvantula, because then I'd be just in even more trouble. So it came down to recognizing what your flaws were, and then trying to kind of, like you said, if you let it go, if you try to fire a debuffing move and then feint, or maybe you swap, you just kind of develop the strategies as you see different things. And I think where a lot of people get discouraged is they try to make a team that beats everything. Galvantula lead is going to be perfect. It's going to beat Azu. It's going to beat, Abomasnow if it's not Shadow and the 2 shields. It's going to beat all the flyers. This is just the perfect lead for me. And then they go into a match and they encounter a Stunfisk. They're like, man, I thought I had the perfect team, and then I just get hard countered. It must be the game trying to force losses onto me. And that's not exactly what it is. It's just that Pokemon typings are set up in such a way that there's always a way to beat something. So with your team, you have to know your roles for each Pokemon. I think that's one thing that really gets away from trainers as well. When I watch somebody play and they use a Swampert to take down a Skarmory, but they have a glaring Stunfisk on their team. And I just asked, well, isn't Stunfisk the better answer for an anti-flyer, and isn't that its role? And shouldn't you save Swampert for something else? Maybe there's an Azu in the back and you need Sludge Wave. You have to assign roles to your Pokemon, right? So if you lead the Altaria and you lead it into like a neutral matchup, like a Lola Marowak, but you have 2 Pokemon that are weak to Marowak in the back, it doesn't matter. You have to stay in with the Altaria and take down the Marowak, because that's its job on your team. So A lot of real success that I've seen from teams comes with knowing how to play out of your weaknesses. And I promise you, as tough as it seems, there's no Oz behind the curtain that's picking the worst leads for you and trying to ruin your day.
No, that's a really good point. And if people watch me play with my team, heavy damage that I call, and that the biggest nemesis of that team is Obstagoon, and especially if it's in the back and they don't shield. But now, just like you said, I learned if, for example, give you an example, Swampert lead is very common, but if they do not shield their Swampert right off the bat when I throw a close combat before I swap out with my Berserker, then I know for a fact 100% of the time that they have an Obstagoon in the back. And that has saved me so many times knowing that. And then and the same thing with so many ways. And so it's so cool that you mentioned all this, because literally that's what you need to do, how to play against those players and Pokemons that you're weak against, and that will make a huge difference. That's awesome. I'm really happy to say that what you said, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so if I could give you just one example from Holiday Cup, I know a lot of trainers had a difficult time. It felt like the meta kind of like consolidated around, double Razor Leaf and that kind of thing. But I actually watched a player's footage, and they had an Obstagoon with a Skarmory and Frostlass lead. So you asked about building teams. Of course, you want to address typing concerns. You want to cover as many types as you possibly can. But the flip side of that is that you want to cover as many meta Pokemon as you can. So the one thing that both Skarmory and Frostlass have in common is that when the shields are up, they're going to lose to Marowak, right? You've got Marowak with Fire Spin. It's going to be super effective against the Ice of Frostlass and super effective against the Steel of Skarmory. So Obstagoon is the only answer for that Marowak. So a lot of the time, what I'd recommend for that team, because both of those Pokemon in the back, again, now we're flipping to roles, right? Both of those Pokemon in the back are great anti-flyers. Skarmory can beat all the flyers and it beats the fighters. Frostlass can beat all the flyers and it can beat the fighters. So what you need to do if you lead that Obstagoon and you suspect a Marowak in the back, you have to switch out and you have to give up one of those Pokemon. You have to switch in the Frostlass. Marowak comes out, that's fine. You grab a shield, you bring in the Obstagoon. Obstagoon does its job, and then you close with the Skarmory. You have to kind of like push pull to figure out what your opponent has in the back. And like you just said, when you get a cube based on how your opponent plays, it can help you decipher the rest of the team. But if they're not giving you any kind of reads, it's like a poker game. You have to force them into exposing their hand.
That was the perfect way to put it, because you never know what's in the back and you have to draw it out somehow based on team composition. And I remember that when I watched, I think the first person I watched on YouTube, the very first videos was with, FB Sticks. Mm-hmm. And I never forget, it burned into my memory when he was talking about it, for example, that he was playing, and it was obviously a very OG line back then. I think it was the Skarmory, Registeel, and Swampert or something like that. Maybe that's what it was. And then he said it right away during the battles when it was right up front. He swapped into Registeel or something, and he said, "Okay, so he has a Swampert in the back." And I was like, "What? How does he know that?" And then I was like, "There's more to this game," because before I just started stabbing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think of it as like there are different pillars of the game. I think we talked about this a little bit on the last interview, but different kind of areas that you need to improve. And if you can imagine them as kind of like you're trying to build a big marble building, right? And you have the columns, and then you have the roof on top, and each column represents a skill level. So let's say you're really good at building just really well-rounded teams, right? That's one pillar. Let's say you're really good at managing your energy and you know the counts. That's another pillar. So it takes 5 powder snows for this and 5 fire spins for that. That's really good. And then let's say team prediction is another pillar, and you need to build that up as well. I think there are maybe 6 or 7 pillars that are identified, but if one of those pillars is off, it depends on where it is in the structure, but the whole roof could kind of be lopsided and slip. So if you can't predict what your opponent has in the back, you haven't quote unquote built the perfect house, if you will, and then the challenge becomes more difficult. So a lot of these really good players like FP, who's insanely talented, he just hit like 3,200 in GBL. A lot of these players have a really well balanced skill set, and I think discovering what you lack and kind of trying to learn how to compensate for that kind of lack of knowledge is how you improve as a player.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was well put. That's like the whole slogan. Everything that you just said should be the golden nugget of this whole episode. There was lots of them, but that should be one of the main ones. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That I think is my basis of what I'm trying to get into, which is a little bit of GBL coaching. So I'm still, getting familiar, learning the ropes, calling things in real time. But I think that's what I want to communicate to people that want to learn more about Pokemon Go PvP.
Speaking of coaching, are you planning on coaching eventually players, or are you already doing it?
Yeah, so I did actually one coaching session with X Factor on stream, who's an incredible mod. He's actually an Orlando local as well. Really, really great guy. One of my close friends. I actually call him Coach because during the Silph Arena Continentals preliminaries, I lost the first match. I was really, really mad because there was a glitch that didn't let me hear the sound in the game, and that's how I count fast moves. And I was just so mad. And X Factor actually messaged me. He said, "Hey man, don't worry about it. Focus on the next match." And I played the next match, and then he messaged me again. He said, enjoy the win, then focus up on the next match. And he coached me through all 7 rounds of that tournament, and the rest is history. So having friends that support you like that is really important. And I brought X Factor on for a little bit of coaching, and admittedly, I didn't help him as much as I wanted to, but I'm getting more into it and looking to pick up some students as time goes on.
That's awesome. That what X Factor did and coaching and everything. But I think you will never forget that the real coaching started when I actually let you win when you battled me when we first met.
That's Daniel. That's one of my favorite memories with you because we were at Armature Works outside, and you sat down and you said, "Hey, I think we're paired." And I said, "Yeah, nice to meet you." You said, "Nice to meet you. Why don't you go ahead and mark down all those games as losses?" I said, "All right, sounds good." And of course, then we played, and I was really serious because I was like, I don't know this guy. I got to prove myself here. He comes into my house in Tampa, and I just can't express enough how funny that was. And just like what a connection we formed just over that moment. And then of course you turned out to be one of the best additions to the community that we could have asked for. I mean, I couldn't ask for a kinder, more dedicated, more interesting content creator and battler to have joined the Tampa community. And we're just so grateful to have you.
Thank you so much. I just had to step it up because of what you and Lyndon is doing here, and all the others is just like absolutely unbelievable. I don't want to stand out.
Well, I was actually chatting with Lyndon last night, and this season in GBL, I mean, the season's not over, but so far I peaked at number 2 in the GBL leaderboards worldwide. And then you got the Silph Championship. And then Lyndon actually won Aero Draft League Season 2, which is the most elite exclusive draft league in the world. He actually won the whole thing a few weeks ago. And then he peaked at number 2 on the GBL leaderboards, I think 2 days ago. So you got 2 guys from Tampa who are number 2 on the global leaderboards and have won some big tournaments. So yeah, Tampa is a really, really great community. And again, I think you're the perfect addition.
But if you're ain't first, you're last.
hey, you're not wrong. And it's so funny because the guy that beat both Lyndon and I for that number 1 spot is the cyborg, as some people have called him, the machine, Dunebug. Dunebug is just the next level player, and I'm so happy. He actually joined Mazer, so I'm really looking forward to partnering with him and not having to fight him because he's the real deal.
That's awesome. I'm very happy to hear that. And yeah, Lyndon, I'm so lucky to have amazing players, in this area. And Jingles, I just met him not too long ago. I'm very excited to be surrounded by so amazing players because now I cannot lack of PvP skills, so I always have to turn it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can reach out to all of us at any time. Jingles, I also call him Coach. He actually helped me quite a bit with my team in season, I believe it was season 4. He recommended that Obstagoon, Driftblim, Shadow Hypno team, which just I did wonders with. I climbed like 250 points in a day or something, just something really, really crazy. And he also was runner-up in ADL season 2. So these guys are all just right there neck and neck, extremely competitive, extremely talented. And yeah, I'm grateful that they're my friends and that we live so close by.
And yeah, that team was great, by the way. I tried out. Once you shared it, I was like, I gotta test this because I love the Goon to begin with. And that was fun. I tried it too, and it was really great. Now, as far as, before we wrap this up, I just want to ask you one thing. If you know anything more or thought about it more, or if you want to talk anything about it, but as far as for esports. So I know because of the pandemic, unfortunately, and what's going on in the world, it's technically on pause. It did help Pokemon, to be honest, because of all the streamers, all the things, and the changes that the game made. I think it leaped it forward by probably a few years. So I really think it helped it a lot, and it gave them some extra cash that they didn't have before. But as far as for the esports itself, it pushed it back just in a way that they would have hosted events for Go Battle like they did with the Invitational, but that went on pause, and they actually even canceled some because of COVID. So why I wanted to talk about it is just really what do you think and what do you expect and how do you feel about just the future? Because I know there's so many things we don't even think of. I mean, the Niantic developer who said yes, Go Battle League will be esports, but he downplayed it. He goes, yeah, that's gonna happen. However, what I really want is that Pokemon Go Olympics, like Olympic battles, and I was like, what? What does that even mean? So what do you think?
Yeah, so really good question. Well, Daniel, I actually have a question for you, if I could kind of flip the script here. So we've seen a lot of different sponsorships going on, right? We've seen Grubhub partnered with Niantic. We just saw Gucci partner with Niantic. I think there was actually maybe T-Mobile did something as well with the outfits. That's really, really interesting to me, Daniel, because what we're seeing is private companies are finding it worth their time to actually upload their assets to the game. I don't know how the deals are structured, but they're actually bringing real world brands into the games. And let me ask you this, how far of a stretch is it for these brands to say, hey, I'm a representative for T-Mobile and we want Daniel Zaneri to represent us in the Go Battle League team up?
Man, that is something that's amazing. Like, just the thought of that is already pretty amazing. So first of all, these companies coming in, let's just put it out there, they had to pay tons of money because Pokemon is one of the games that's being used just as much in a day than Facebook being opened on the phone. So, which is unbelievable. So the advertisement amount that they actually get is a lot. It's gonna be even comparable. So these companies put some big money on it, and I questioned as soon as I saw Gucci, showing up in Pokemon. I was scratching my head. Then I was like, how did they Gucci? Like, what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? So because they want to return, and I don't know if you've seen Pokemon Go players, including myself, but I never seen myself at the Gucci store, going around, roaming around and getting a new shoes or a backpack for 5 to 8 grand. Although I have to say this, if they're listening to it, awesome. But there's this couple at the Al Lopez Park. I see them every community day. They drive an AMG G-Wagon, which is like $150,000.
Yep.
And they play Pokemon Go, and they always look so high fashionable, and they walk around, and I'm always like, where did they come from? And you know, it just you know what I mean? So.
I understand where you're coming from, Daniel. I think it's because you're a businessman, and I think I can relate to what you're saying because I have a business degree. You think that when you do a sponsorship, you want it to appeal to your target audience, right? That seems like the natural fit. Well, if you think about it, Pokemon Go is all about getting people to go out and do things. And with the pandemic, we've all been locked in our homes. So I mean, you and I can both agree on this. I'd love to see the numbers. What's the foot traffic that Gucci stores have gotten from these players that were playing the game, they wanted to go get their gear, and they stopped in the Gucci store and looked around? I'm sure that the Gucci stores in all these malls and locations and outlets and things, I'm sure they've gotten a huge influx of traffic just from that. And I think that showcases a lot of potential. When you look at Go Battle League being more of an individual type format where you've got one person on top of the leaderboards, you've got, one person tracking their elo. If you introduce more of like a bracketed team aspect to that, I think that's just the easiest way to kind of open the floodgates to the brands than supporting teams.
And what you said with the sponsoring and representing, let's say me representing T-Mobile or Gucci or whatever, in game, let's just start with in game, as you mentioned. So that would be pretty amazing. And once it goes esports anyways, everybody will see and know the character and how it looks, and you constantly see it during the battle on the screen anyway. So by wearing the Gucci outfit is already like a huge representation in the game. So outside of the game, as you go to these events, like when we see the tennis players like Federer, for example, wearing Nike, and they have like 6 different outfits to go if they win, if they lose, and all these things. This could be so big, and we are at just the very beginning of it. And Niantic, as far as we know, could be just practicing or just getting their feet wet right now.
Exactly. And Daniel, we've been talking about a lot of this kind of like in a speculative way, like a what if kind of way. What if I told you it's already happened? Have you seen the 7-Eleven tournament going down in Mexico? It's already happened. 7-Eleven is building a team, and it's going to be Team 7-Eleven versus Team Daniel with T-Mobile.
Yeah, it's already happening. We just don't really know, and people are just gonna be like, oh, when did this happen? When we see all these teams. I mean, you're already part of a team, so it's just a matter of time when even 100 teams, for example, eventually jump on it. and then all these people, and then Ninja is already lurking around. So who knows, when this is gonna happen. And even Dr. Disrespect mentioned Pokemon on his stream, so you know that it's in the mind of people. It's just a matter of time when we actually see it show up.
Love it. Yeah, I would love to see that. I think it's just a huge opportunity, and the pandemic has been really, really tough for a lot of people. I consider myself very grateful. I know a lot of people have had it really hard, but I feel like Niantic has also made the best of a really bad situation by taking away that walking requirement, allowing people to do the unlimited battles, and people like you and I, Daniel, who continue to make content, we continue to grow the base, and that's the most important thing, because we love to talk about teams and where this thing can go, but if the viewership isn't there, it won't happen. So if anyone listening to this is considering getting into content, whether it's online on social media, or if it's on TikTok, or if it's on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, get into it. Help build the community, because that's the way that we get to where we want to be.
That was very well put and very amazingly put. Speaking of viewership, where could people find you? What's the easiest way to get in touch with you, and where could they find you and watch you?
Absolutely. So if you want to watch me, go to twitch.tv/Daniel Zaneri. I make really awesome intros for my videos, and I'm a really talented battler as well.
Thank you for the shout out. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, Daniel. But seriously, guys, go check out Daniel first. But if you are interested in me as well, it's twitch.tv/SpeediestChief2. Make sure you type all those I's, because if you type SpeediestChief2, you're probably going to get some different recommendations.
Yeah, that's very important, because you might be surprised. And is there any last minute words or anything that you want to share to the community, or anything you want to talk about before we wrap this episode up? And I could go on all day, all night, because you are so easy to talk to and you just have amazing ideas. But we need to wrap this up and let the people go, because I know at this point their brain is probably like glowing, like smoking a little bit, just like mine.
Absolutely. So in terms of final words, I just encourage everybody to play your GPLs, enjoy them, try to have fun, build fun teams, and try new things. We still have a lot of time left in the season, a lot of time to reach your goals, a lot of time to earn some Stardust, because that's a huge draw as well. And keep your eye on other formats, right? Other team formats. If you really love this game, for example, Mazer just did the Specialist Cup, which is where you break the typings down into 8 different kinds of classes, and then you pick your Pokemon from there. And we did a team tournament Specialist Cup, and it was just so much fun. There's so many ways to enjoy this game. So make sure that you, first of all, you're enjoying it, and second of all, be patient and just do your battles, have a great time, and look for areas to improve, but don't stress yourself out, because we do this for fun, and we love this game for it.
Thank you so much, by the way, for this, and thank you, very well put. And guys, make sure to take action. At least one thing that SpeediestChief2 shared today, because even just one thing will change everything. So thank you again for being here, Will, and we will have to have you back on again soon.
Absolutely, Daniel. It's always a great time. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you around in Tampa. Again, just so grateful that you live so close by, and you're such an awesome friend. So thank you for having me. And guys, if you don't already follow Daniel on Twitter, do that. Sub to him on YouTube, follow him on Twitch, show him all the love you can, because he's a great creator, and he just wants the best for everybody.
Thank you so much. And guys, you need to do exactly the same to SpeediestChief2 as well.
Thank you so much, Daniel. This is great.
Thank you.